go through some finishing best practices because I do a fair amount of finishing, and this is the best way that I've figured to use all your finish, every drop, and not waste any finish, which is getting more and more expensive, as you know. So when I do any finishing, the first thing I use is I make sure that I have a couple of tools on hand. One is this fits-all paint spout, okay? And the other thing I use is the paint plow, which is a product to clean the lid. So keeping this, the theme here you're going to see is keeping this seal for the can good. The original containers are probably the best thing to store your finishes in because it has all the warning labels. You know what it is. So whenever I do any finishing, I carefully open it all the way around, and then I'll do some stirring. You know, use a drill mounted stir, something like that, and then I always use a secondary container. So in a nutshell, we're going to pour some finish from here into a second container, and then use this container, and then we're going to seal this up to protect the leftovers. This is the best thing I've seen. A lot of other manufacturers make similar ones. These are like $1 in your paint store, and you can reuse them over and over and over. And frankly, it's the best investment because this thing keeps your lid, the groove in your lid, from getting paint in it. So you pour out whatever you need using the paint spout like this. Okay, then you can stop. You see the remainder drains right back into the can, and when you're done, there's nothing in your groove at all, right? It completely keeps the groove nice and clean. If any paint did get in the groove, that's where this paint plow comes in. You can use this product to go around the groove like this, and if there's any paint in there, it'll kind of plow it back into the container. And then I recommend you take a paper towel and clean that all out if you've had any contamination in there. Okay, and the whole point of doing all that is so that you get a nice seal when you're done. And what that looks like is take your lid, hold it over again, use your Bloxygen, seal up the can. I usually put a rag over the top to prevent any splashes, hammer it on, and you're good to go. Okay? That's probably the best way that you can do this. Some people recommend that you drill small holes in the base of this groove in your can, and that the paint or the finish can drain through those. We don't recommend making any alterations to this. This is a very simple system that's trying to create a very good seal, and if you do any damage to this at all, it probably won't work. If you find that your can is dented or the seal is bent, I'd recommend getting a new can. They sell these at the paint stores like Crafts for like $1.50 or something, and it's worth the investment to keep your finish. Some people recommend putting saran wrap over, or plastic wrap over the lid of your container, and then putting the lid on and sealing it. I'm kind of undecided on that. It seems like it would be a good idea. I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea. One thing that other people recommend sometimes is putting, to raise the level of the finish, to prevent oxygen or moisture damage, they put marbles inside, or rocks. And I don't recommend that. It's a mess. It usually doesn't work. Rocks in particular are very porous and they'll hold lots of moisture, and they can cause just as much problem as anything else. And of course, if you do it, you end up having to filter everything, which is kind of the whole point of using Bloxygen anyway, to save time and save money. Another thing folks do is they use propane, and propane is a pretty reactive chemical. That's why it burns. I don't recommend putting that in any sort of oil-based finish. You never know what's going to happen between those two chemicals. One of our customers, actually several, have said that years ago they used to exhale into their containers. So they would like that and then put the lid on. You know, it seems like a good idea, and they're on the right track by eliminating the oxygen, but our bodies aren't perfect, and we don't consume all the oxygen we inhale. It's the right idea, but it won't really work. That's why you can revive people using CPR, by the way. Another thing people do sometimes is they put a small disc of wax paper into the can and they let that sit on top. Generally, I've found that that doesn't work. You end up having crusted paint on the wax paper, on the sides of the can, and you have to take the wax paper out and filter all the contents when you're done anyway, so that's probably not a real good tool. Once you have your finish stored, it's sealed with the Bloxygen. The best place to put something is where it's still and where it's cool, and you're not going to be moving it around a lot. almost any finish, if you put it in the back of a van, drive it around daily, and let it get hot every day at noon, it's probably going to get crusted over and ruined. So consider where you're storing your finish. That's important too. Okay, thanks.